Just 19-year-old Freddie McClendon clung to a guitar and a promise in Greenwood, South Carolina, where the atmosphere was heavy with the weight of history and the bustle of small-town life. Since he was a freshman writing lyrics in the corners of his notebooks, music had always been his haven, a place where he could clear his mind. But his music didn't become more than that, a lifeline, until May 7, 2023. His father, Davis McClendon, was snatched from him in a tragedy that captured the nation's attention on that day, shattering his world. Now, Freddie wasn't merely pursuing a dream when he entered the American Idol audition room in March 2025. His purpose for being here was to change his father's story. Newsreels and podcasts analyzed Davis as the true crime story of the week. But he was more than just a headline. He was the father who had taken Freddie to Nashville when he was 15, pointing to the neon lights on Broadway and remarking, "That's going to be you one day, Freddie." His heart was large enough to make everyone feel seen, and Davis was the man who had coached his football matches and engaged in late-night conversations about life. Freddie's sorrow was exacerbated by the media's fixation on the crime when Davis was killed, stricken down in a premeditated act by a man connected to his girlfriend's background. With a calm-voiced and purposeful eyes, Freddie told the judges they didn't know him. "I want his life, not his death, to be known to the world." The audition space seemed like a separate dimension. Across from him, with gentle yet expectant expressions, were Carrie Underwood, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie. The pressure of the moment pressed against Freddie's chest, causing his hands to shake while he played his guitar. He remarked, "I've always written music, but after my dad died, it became more serious. This song is dedicated to him." Sensing the tale beneath his remarks, the judges leaned closer. Carrie's gaze grew softer. She said, "Freddie, take your time." He nodded, inhaled, and traced the chords of "You Never Loved Him" with his fingertips. Like a memory he feared shattering, the initial notes were brittle. However, Freddie's voice became more raw and soulful as he sang, containing both the fire of love and the pain of loss. "We never had the opportunity to say goodbye to him, to see him one last time, or even to try to warn him that you had gone insane." Each phrase was a brushstroke that depicted Davis as a parent, a friend, and a man who had lived intensely. The lyrics were a window into Freddie's heart. He sang of the happiness they had experienced together, the hopes Davis had fostered, and the anguish of saying goodbye too soon. It wasn't about perfection in that room. Freddie's wording was more honest than polished, and his voice broke in places, but it was genuine. Carrie's hand was on her cheek, her eyes sparkling. Lionel sat motionless, taking in all that was said. Luke's foot tapped in time with the passion that was leaking out, not the beat. The room fell silent as the last chord faded. Freddie raised his head, breathing erratically, anticipating their decision. First to speak, Carrie's voice was husky. "Freddie, I appreciate you sharing your heart. Making the decision to remember him rather than the events is incredibly courageous. You have this vintage spirit in your voice, yet it's yours." Every statement resonated with me. Luke's eyes were wet, but he smiled. "Dude, you remind me of Paul Simon in the modern era. That integrity. That is the hallmark of a songwriter." Ever the wise one, Leo continued, "We were moved by the way you turned your suffering into something. That is the purpose of this company." Freddie's heart was racing. He had gone to pay tribute to his father, not anticipating such a claim. The atmosphere changed when Lionel brought his sisters, Blair and Annabelle, as well as his mother, Kristen, into the room. The judges declared their verdict: a golden ticket to Hollywood and 3 yeses. While Kristen's delighted smile reflected Davis's from previous years, his sisters grieved and wrapped their arms around one another. "Dad, we're going to Hollywood," Freddie muttered to the camera, his voice shaking as he gripped the ticket. The world was looking outside. Social media exploded when the episode aired on March 23, 2025. One fan wrote on Twitter, "Freddie McClendon's voice is haunting. His tune for his father, I'm in ruins." Another commented, "He has a real, soulful Jeff Buckley vibe." South Carolina is proud. The general agreement was that Freddie's heart had left its mark, even though some people weren't convinced, calling his performance raw and his tone shaky. He was astounded by the judges' response and posted their tweets on Instagram. He was described by Carrie as an old soul with a modern edge. Luke commended his courage. Freddie's tribute reminds us love transcends loss. Who had never performed in front of an audience faced a new challenge as Hollywood Week approached. Freddie was aware that his stage presence was unproven and his voice wasn't flawless. However, the goal was not perfection. Davis's faith in him, the recollection of that Nashville trip, and the will to preserve his father's brightness would all be infused into every note he sang. His neighborhood came together back in Greenwood. Friends flocked to Howard's on Main to see Freddie and his band, The Whereabouts, perform, and Sports Break through a watch party. With You Never Loved Him at its core, his album Present Memories was scheduled for a re-release, with rumors of a new album following. The headlines that had previously characterized his father, a crime, a trial, a sentence, came to mind as Freddie prepared to leave for Hollywood. They had hurt Davis, making him the terrible conclusion of a story. But suddenly, the world was discovering who Davis truly was through Freddie's song. A father who had huge dreams for his son, lived a loving life, and left a legacy that was stronger than grief. More than just strings, Freddie's guitar case contained a promise to continue singing and sharing that tale. With his golden ticket in hand, Freddie ventured into the unknown and heard his father say, "That's going to be you one day," in his ear. He believed it for the first time.